Saram, and very warm welcome to another episode of Innovation Series from SSSIHL of Higher Learning Institute's Innovation Council, IIC. And a warm good morning and Saram to you, Maitali ma'am. How are you doing today?
Sairam Ravikant sir. Doing good, thank you.
So we'll start off. We have 5 themes today. We're going to look at Journey of DELL, which is the Department of Languages and Literature at SSSIHL of Higher Learning. We look at the departmental evolution, legacy, and research expansion. A couple of questions there as theme 1. And then we look at literature as a lens to understand life and self. Crossroads of Disciplines, interdisciplinary literary research is the 3rd theme. Language as power, applied linguistics and communication for inclusion. And finally, we look at rediscovering roots, the Indian knowledge systems and comparative poetics. These are the 5 themes we'll look at. And for the audience, a quick round of introduction. Dr. Maitali Khanna completed her bachelor's and master's degrees in English and MPhil in English literature from SSSIHL of Higher Learning. Her MPhil thesis was in the critical study of the contrasting ideas of sympathy and distance in select modern poets. She then received her doctoral degree from her alma mater in 2015 in the area of postmodern theory and poetry, examining the poems of Philip Larkin and Ted Hughes in applied critique. In 2012, Dr. Maitali joined SSSIHL of Higher Learning as a faculty member in the Department of English Language and Literature. Her research contributions predominantly lie in the realm of postmodern literature. In addition to her regular teaching responsibilities, she actively engages in research pursuits and guides postgraduate dissertations. Currently, Dr. Maitali Khanna serves as the head of Department of Languages and Literature at SSSIHL of Higher Learning. So that's it, ma'am. Let's any welcome words before we start.
Thank you, sir, for your introduction. I'm actually Maitali Khanna, and your introduction has only reiterated the fact how blessed I am to be associated with this system as a student, as a scholar, and as a teacher. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, Dr. Maitali Khanna, I'll correct myself. So let's look at the departmental evolution. So how has the vision of the department evolved from its inception by literally stalwarts to embracing cutting-edge interdisciplinary research? That's question number 1. And in what ways has the department retained its value-based core while adapting to contemporary global academic currents?
Right. So I'll take the first question first, sir. In fact, you have put the theme in a very beautiful way. You have said from founding vision to future horizons. So talking about the inception, in fact, with the inception of the Sri Sathya Sai Arts and College in 1968 at Anantapur, we also have the inception of Department of English. And it started with offering 2 courses in general English and the English as a second language for all undergraduate students. So during that time, why I am emphasizing on the word founding vision, because during that time, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, our founder chancellor, had laid a lot of emphasis on the importance of learning English, spoken and written both. And he's the one who has laid actually the founding vision for our department. He had, during the inception, he had told some of the teachers how the students who join this university, they come from village, and the teachers should really work hard to improve their spoken and written language so that they can communicate their higher ideals to the society. So I feel that was the founding vision of our founder chancellor. And of course, thereafter in 1981, when Sri Sathya Sai University became a university, we had the MA English Language and Literature started in our department. And during that time, the first Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Vinayak Gokak, he himself was an acclaimed English professor, writer, and the critic. So under his direct guidance, all our syllabus, curricula, and also the evaluation scheme, everything was framed and crafted. So I would say that the foundation to this department has been in the hands of all the luminaries in literature and the stalwarts. In fact, the first HOD of the department was Ziba Bashiruddin,
I
and
was
he
just
was,
thinking about that. She
yes,
was one of our teachers, ma'am, back in 93 and 95.
yes,
I want to mention this. I'm sorry to cut you there. And I wrote a
yes,
recent article on LinkedIn of all the English teachers. And she stands very, very tall, even though she was a bit short. And
absolutely.
under the computer lab, we had the English room. And she used to make us write creative English pieces, give us 10 minutes, and we had to write in front of, and she used to evaluate and actually, give either a compliment or, amendment or whatever. She used to actually do that. So I was just thinking about her when you mentioned it. So it's great to know that she was the first HOD of the department.
Was the first HOD, sir. In fact, she has carved the growth of MA in English in the department. She herself was the Islamic scholar, and
Yes.
also she has contributed many books, for Bhagwan, miracles with Bhagwan, etc. Uh, and of course, after that, we had many professors who were the stalwarts in literature, like Professor Jagdishan from Madras University, Professor V.S. Sethu Raman. I must mention he was associated with our university, and he is again a very notable critic and a writer in our field. In fact, his books have been, the very notable prescribed texts in almost all the universities in criticism. So then we have Professor Balaswamy from Pondicherry. So this university has been shaped in the hands of the professors who have been stalwarts in literature, who have had very notable contributions in the field. Then I must mention the name of Dr. N.R. Shastri. He was the professor from CFL, now FLU in Hyderabad, and so he was a specialist in phonetics. So
Uh,
he's the one who has, yes, maybe laid the foundation of linguistic studies in our department. So likewise, we have many professors associated with our university who have shaped the departments in a very, very scholarly way, at the same time rooted in Swami's values and culture. Here, I would be failing if I do not mention the contribution of Professor Jayalakshmi Gopinath, madam. We were just talking about her. She was also the warden of our hostel. And Professor Jayalakshmi Gopinath, madam, has a very notable contribution to the department. She was an Aurobindo scholar. So she has, added the spark of spiritual insights into the vision of our research. So, and during her, the period, her regime of HOD-ship, she has developed the department in the way of giving a research orientation to the courses. And during her time, we had these PG dissertations that actually were intensive research on literary studies and language studies. Post Jayam Lakshmi ma'am, we have Professor Rajeshwari C. Patel, and her main focus on the ethics and moralities in literature was something that I think got added to our vision of the department. And of course, a very formal and recent head of the department, who is currently the director and the dean of faculty and director of Anandpur campus, Professor Rani PL. During her period of HOD, she has actually taken department to a very, very contemporary level. She has basically brought in the interdisciplinary approach to the department, not just in research, but also in the courses that now we offer. So, yes, that is in brief the evolution of department and how the founding vision of the founder chancellor, we are only building upon that, adding the values that he has taught us and the spiritual sparks of many of the professors that have, kindled the vision of the department, sir.
Very, very inspiring to listen to the legendary names there. So moving to the second theme on the literature as a lens to understand life and the self, and the focus on the philosophy critical and humanistic foundation of literary research. So questions around how does the study of literature deepen our understanding of human nature, society, and the pursuit of happiness as echoed in the works of Alexander Pope? And why is literature not just an academic pursuit, but a vital means of sensitizing individuals to social, emotional, and environmental needs?
Yes. So, thank you, sir, for that name, Alexander Pope. You have very relevantly mentioned him here, because the moment we talk about study of literature or literature per se, we define literature as study of life. And Alexander Pope, who has been a very popular poet in writing in the 17th century, his epic poem, An Essay on Man, has very crucial lines. For example, he says, "Know then thyself, presume not God to scan, the proper study of mankind is man." Now, picking this line, the proper study of mankind is man. What is this proper study? Proper study is when we study deeply, we study properly. It's kind of a research. So when we talk about proper study of mankind, what is mankind? Mankind is man, nature and state of man in relation to society, in relation to universe, man in relation with himself, and man in pursuit of happiness. This is what mankind is. So when we talk about, all our researches are basically to study mankind. And Pope says, if you have to have a proper study of mankind, you need to first study man. You must know what man is made of, how many selves he has, what nature he has, etc. So this part of study is what literature deals with. Literature deals with man per se. Literature deals with his life. It's a reflection of man's inner journey and the journey without. It is a reflection of the society to man. So, and what is the outcome of studying man? When we as readers study man in the passages of literature, we basically are trying to understand how we must be sensitive to the social needs. It sensitizes society to man's need, sensitizes man to social needs, and also it sensitizes everybody to environmental needs. So in order for us to basically, contribute to the society and understand the social problems, first we need to be sensitive towards that. We need to have that empathetic outlook towards that. We need to be conscious of that, and that's what I think literature does. And that's how, again quoting Alexander Pope, he calls man as "oh presumptuous man," he says. And the moment he says presumptuous, our ears are up, and we say, "Oh, how are we presumptuous?" Because we are so used to thinking that whatever we think and whatever we know and believe is all that exists. Yeah. We are always right. So he says, "Oh, presumptuous man, do not try to justify the ways of God." So through the lines of his poems, when we visit, we know after all, we are just a speck in the whole of creation of God. And with this kind of a perspective, when we then approach society, environment, and our fellow beings, it broadens your view. It sensitizes your heart. So I feel in that way, literature has a very, very important and really significant contribution to the research today.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, not a related question though, but I wanted to ask. In our days,
Yes.
we used to love reading, especially joining in Berkeley in 1993, the excellent library, the five-floor library that we used to have next to the institute. So more than the textbooks, I used to read a lot of books. And that habit also continued once I came out of Berkeley, and even when I joined the industry as such. My experience has been that whatever kind of book which is interesting, right? Once you actually go through in depth, you actually see the visuals in your mind, and you're off to another world altogether. Now, I've got two kids. One is 16, one is close to 11 now, and trying to imbibe that kind of habit of book reading. What's your take on the importance of reading books?
Sir, it is uncontestable, sir. Reading habit is something that gives you the knowledge of every domain. In fact, I would like to quote Wordsworth. He says poetry generally actually means literature here. So he says poetry is the breath and the finer spirit of all knowledge. So here you're talking about your children. I would like to mention that I have a son. And one thing that as an English teacher, I was very particular that he gets this reading habit. And I know if he knows the world today, it is only through books that he reads. His exposure to media, phones is very less. His exposure to books is really more. The kind of phrases, expressions, and the knowledge that he has, it's only through the reading of not very general knowledge kind of books, sir. It's only storybooks. But these stories, the narratives, the tales, they are suffused with or not just knowledge, but actually the wisdom of the world. So I would really advocate very strongly that even today, parents must give the hard copies of the books in the hands of the children. They must feel the book, they must feel the words, they must feel the texture, which maybe e-copies will not be able to give, sir.
No, I'm 100% with you there, man. I mean, the smell of the new printed book is really amazing.
Absolutely, sir.
And then once you find an interesting book, now at maximum 2-3 days, I actually reach the box. So, yeah, I'm with you there completely. So let's, I think,
sir.
Yes. Absolutely. So let's move to the crossroads of disciplines, interdisciplinary literary research, and couple of questions around how does the department's interdisciplinary research bridging philosophy, mythology, cognitive sciences, and more help not just mirror but resolve societal challenges? That's question number one. And can you share some powerful examples of research where literature interacts with fields like environmental studies or psychology to propose new narratives of healing and transformation?
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir, for the question. Actually, I would like to just quickly trace how research has actually grown in our department and evolved through, basically, I would call as 3 phases of research in our department. So as I said in the beginning phase, when it was more of a postgraduate dissertations, they were more rooted to foreground values, culture, the morals and ethics in the literary text through the critical evaluation of the text. And that actually become the basis of the research of the department even today. Then the second phase, if I recall, maybe after 2010 or so, when our PhD program started in the department, the research became more serious, more seriously oriented towards the contribution to the core knowledge of the domain, trying to make models and the theoretical frameworks contributing towards the schools of criticism and literary theory. Again, while we were trying to add to the theory and the critical concepts, which are our tools to analyze or give a different perspective and orientation to the reading of a text, we did not lose the ground of values and moral orientation, because that was the basic approach for the research in the department. In the very third phase, which is in very recent times, we have gone more interdisciplinary in nature. And then as I come to your question, interdisciplinarity and how we are including the cross-cutting issues in our research today. In fact, sir, you said how we are incorporating philosophy, mythology, psychology, etc. I would say literature by nature is interdisciplinary. As I said, it is the spirit of all the knowledge. So the moment the moment reader picks up a text, and you are a voracious reader, so you can actually imagine yourself getting through the labyrinths of plots and the subplots, and then you, as a reader, actually go lost. You are transported to the world of the text. You interact with the characters, you interact with different situations, you actually interact with some of the philosophical ideas that are beyond your comprehension. And sometimes you come across the psychological the issues or the problems that maybe the character is going through, which you were never aware of. You also interact with the emotional aspects that you find in the novels, and the literary style, the imagery, the locale, the atmosphere, setting, that completely makes you one with the character. And when then suddenly at the end of the book, when you are pushed out of the novel, there where, this catharsis kind of an effect happens that Aristotle calls as catharsis. When you are purged of your self-centeredness, you are purged of your parochial vision, and you are able to actually think wider. So it's just the journey of a reader, sir, helps us bring the study from the different disciplines like psychology, philosophy, mythology. Mythology is a very, very much part of literature through allusions, anecdotes, so many things. In fact, you learn mythology through the stories of the narratives in the literature. So it's very easy to actually bring in subtext or intertextuality in literature. But talking about this is a seamless connection between literature and different domains of discipline. But then coming to the very core discipline, nowadays interdisciplinary studies have become a core discipline by itself.
Yeah.
So it is no more just talking about philosophy in a novel or talking about psychology in a novel or mythology in the novel. No, the two disciplines actually have come together. They have merged, integrated, and created altogether the third domain. So such kind of things we have today in our domain as well. For example, we have a paper or course on eco-critical studies.
Mm-hmm.
So that combines literature, environmental studies, and literary criticism. So it is a domain by itself. It has its own theories. Through the narratives, it tries to address the problems in environment. So right now, in today's time, if I go back and see all the research that is happening in the department, so I think last year we had some two scholars who got their degrees. They just finished their PhDs. This year, I think we will have five scholars going out of the getting their PhD degrees, and we still have some 8-9 scholars right now doing research in the department, and each of their areas is actually catering to social needs in one way or the others. Yes, sir. If you want me to be more specific with the details of the research.
Any examples? Couple of examples.
Yes. So when we talk about environment studies, so we have this one research scholar who is working on the state of the reveries with River Tista. So we know this River Tista that flows through the states of Sikkim and West Bengal. And this River Tista has the history of flash floods. So they've passed, I think, almost for some decades. The River Tista is the victim of maybe the Anthropocene age that we call as humans' doings. And it has always been in floods. So this scholar is actually, she belongs to that particular area, and she has a family who have been the victim of these floods in River Tista. So she has taken up this kind of a study of witness narratives, and her goal is to actually, save or document the chronicles of those victims who have actually seen and interacted with these River Tista. So basically, when we talk about sustainability of environment or solutions to save environment, while yes, the very common solutions like 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, they are there. But at the same time, the deeper solutions lie in when you actually realize that you have an organic relationship with the environment. And this researcher is trying to understand this kind of an organic relationship between the place, space, and the species. And the species constitute the human being as well. So it's part of the human, the whole of ecosystem. So she has gone and she has interviewed many of such kind of oral narratives. She has culled out some of the oral folklores that are related to River Tista, and she's trying to study them, translate them in English for a wider reach, and trying to sensitize the contemporary youth of that same place it's not just important. It is not that we need to save Free Batista or save the environment, but it is also to understand why we must do that. How are we actually organically connected with the Batista? So she's trying to, document all the chronicles. She has met the witnesses, she has spoken to them, and she's translating their studies. So this is one of the environmental related research that's happening. Second is the research is in very niche areas like trauma and memory studies or partition literature. So while and it's very contemporary and relevant in today's time when we had Kashmir issues, we have all these kind of wars that's going on nowadays. So there are scholars who are studying the trauma, just the trauma element of Kashmiri Pandits.
Yeah.
And we know they have gone through the pain. We know their stories, but we do not know how they have tackled their trauma.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and what these kind of researchers do is they cull out some universal resolutions and messages from very specific stories of one or two families. So this is one thing, and the other researcher is talking about the memoirs. She's studying the memoirs of the exiles of the Palestinian exiles. So again, she's trying to connect. So this kind of empathetic approach is equally important if we need to contribute to the society. Then we have a researcher who is actually talking about. She's gone back to Wordsworth and Tagore, and she's trying to bring in or re-look at their romantic vision from a very new Vedantic philosophy of Satya Sai studies. Wow. So she has taken Satya Sai philosophy, called Satya Sai philosophy as a new Vedantic approach, and then try to connect the Eastern and the Western philosophy.
Excellent.
Another area that we're working on, coming through almost, this is all the literature, kind of literary studies that's happening. We have also explored the applied linguistics aspects. So this applied linguistics is a field that combines language and the social disciplines, society or psychology, anthropology, forensic, English language teaching, etc. Sure. So we have scholars working in this particular area wherein they try to develop the stylistic models to understand, to study language, because these stylisticians, they believe that language is the window to the world. So how much ever language we know the world. So they approach the social problems, cultural issues, mythological, revisiting mythologies through the language. They study the linguistic elements that the authors use. And under this, there is one scholar who is working in English language teaching, and her core area is communicative competence. So basically, she's trying to come up with an eclectic model of communicative competence that will help improve the communication skills, especially in Indian employment scenario. So her argument is that for communication, modulation of words or just grammar or language is not enough. Affective domain is equally enough. So she's bringing up this kind of a model, which is going to be helpful for maybe later the syllabus designer or the policy makers in order to bring up, some solutions for the lacuna in the communication that we have in the employability syllabus.
So a lot of impactful research and the kind of connect you actually established with your narrative. It was really good. Thank you so much for that. One comment I have to make, part of this, there's a Spark Lab incubation program happening under Pallav sir's direction in IIC, right? So I was a mentor and a trainer. So one of my mentees, interestingly, was into this verbal capability development. And he's using a lot of AI tools to enhance verbal capability, man. So when you actually mention about someone researching on the verbal communication side, I don't know, maybe I can actually connect him to you. You can actually explore in terms of what are the kind of AI tools they're actually using. And that can be, and your research also can actually help him deepen his work as such. And maybe I'll do that later.
Yes. Yes. In fact, sir, some of the PG dissertations are being guided in this direction. What are the effective AI tools that we can use? In fact, we are not very pro as language teachers, not very pro using AI tools because, especially for students, see, at the level of the employer, they can use because they do not have time and they already have expertise. But at the level of students, they need to still groom their expertise of language.
Absolutely.
If now itself they start using AI,
Yes.
then they are at loss.
Absolutely, man. And I also want to reflect, I keep speaking with a lot of leaders in the corporate, and they are also voicing out. So Shivayu Sengupta is the chief human resource officer for a company called Zeta based in Bangalore. So he was voicing. So we had a trial session where three leaders come onto the podcast. So we had Pankaj Rai, who's a chief data analytics officer for Aditya Birla Group. Uh, and we had someone from Wells Fargo, managing director for consumer lending, but for analytics assets, Nitin Sareen. So
Okay.
Shubhai was asking a question because he had a teenage daughter who was very, very interested to write, and she writes really very well. And his concern was that in his days, they actually, just like you said, they developed the muscle of whatever competency in the hard way, right? They actually did the study, made mistakes, and they had teachers to actually correct. But the generation is such that children are using AI tools from a very young age, and his concern was that how exactly can he avoid sometimes making her not to use AI tools. So I think that's a kind of a concern across the board, and I understand where you're coming from.
That's a concern, sir.
Yeah,
While AI tools are available for them and they are very competent in using, they know which is the best AI tool to use. But what if one day they don't have AI tools? They don't know how to write them.
absolutely. No,
So
absolutely.
that's a concern, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. So moving to the fourth theme of language as power, applied linguistics and communication for inclusion. So how is the department shaping real world impact through research in Indian Sign Language and inclusive communicating frameworks? And
Yes.
what does applied linguistics mean in today's world, and how is the department contributing to models that empower, educate, and unify?
Yes, sir. So, yeah, I think I did speak about applied linguistics, but
Sure.
I would add to applied linguistics that how we are actually now connecting applied linguistics to cognitive science. So, we have this field called cognitive stylistics that connects the cognitive aspect of the reader or a writer with the language crafting. So, in this particular research, the scholars have actually explored the process of reception and production. So, basically, so it's very interesting that when you pick up a particular book, say, nowadays this particular author is there, Kavita Kane, and she writes, she revisits the mythology. So, there is a particular book that she has written on Lanka's princess. So, when we pick up the book Lanka's princess and we look at the cover page of Lanka's princess, even we have not even skimmed through or got into the pages, just the cover page itself, it triggers our cognitive uh, faculty. And the moment I say Lanka's princess, the first name that comes to me is Shurpanakha, because that's how my cognitive faculty has been trained with all the mythological tales that maybe the grandparents would have narrated to us.
Yeah.
But then the moment I go get into the text and then I read the first page, it starts with she. The very first word is she. And then I understand at the end of the page that she is not the Shutnaka of my cognitive understanding, but it is actually Minakshi. So how? So this is the kind of a research that we are trying to do. That how the cognitive interaction of a reader with a text is first of all very subjective. It's very contextual. The way I understand Lanka's princess, maybe a foreigner who doesn't know about Mahabharata, Ramayana, may be able to understand that. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are trying to understand the connection between language study and how the cognitive faculty is interacting. Cognitive faculty of the reader is interacting with every word, the images, the text world that the writer creates in
mm,
order to actually finally make the reader. So
ah,
this is the concept there, that we first make the text, and then slowly when we get into the text starts making us. And that is the process, that's the journey of transformation. And how does it impact the society? It
mm,
first gives the society a very conscious and a conscientious aware reader. When
absolutely.
we are actually seeing consciously, we are able to go through the process of reading, and we know what is happening to us and how we are transformed. So this is one aspect of cognitive stylistics under applied linguistics. And one scholar had studied uh, intensively the images of A.K. Ramanujan, and how just through images he can strike the change in the
Mm,
reader. Then you were talking about Indian Sign Language.
yeah.
Now, this is our step towards inclusivity in our own way, sir.
Mm,
And not just inclusivity, but also IKS, because uh, we do have sign languages, but these sign languages are more based on the Western linguistic theories.
mm,
So today, when we speak and we talk about the English pronunciation, we talk about the received pronunciation, which is British.
mm,
We are still not there to adopt the Indian pronunciation. So even these sign languages are based on the British sign languages. So what this scholar is now trying to do is create or frame the Indian sign languages, which are more close to our own context.
right.
So in this, we have basically actually signed an MOU also with ISH in Mysore University. That is a university that caters to inclusivity, and that
Mm,
has these kind of special schools.
right.
So she's trying to get this kind of a bridge the gap between hearing and the deaf community. She
Ah,
herself is basically going through the training of sign language, and her belief is it's not all that we teach sign language to the maybe the deaf community, but
mm,
also to the hearing community, so that they
mm.
really feel included.
Absolutely, madam.
So
I mean, I want to quickly comment on here.
yes,
One of my juniors is now the CEO of a company based in UK called Silent Speaks. Now, recently I've done a podcast with him, and his engineers are all deaf, right? And they do all the entire uh, company is actually built for people who are deaf. And because in UK, when they actually travel here and there, right, they're not able to hear the announcements. So
yes, sir.
his app is basically able to help them with the sign
Okay,
language person. Now they are into Indian ISL also, and also the Asian languages, and also in the UK as such. So maybe it's good to have a dialogue with this guy. He's our alumni based out of UK, but a fantastic guy, I think. Um, they use a lot of
I'll connect back
avatars.
to you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll connect both of you maybe later.
Right,
Great.
sir. Yeah.
And anything
So
else you have to say? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so your second question on IKS, sir. So Indian Knowledge System. And I believe if not the literature department, who would be able to promote Indian knowledge system better? And fortunately, in the languages department, we have a very robust Sanskrit department also that are picking up in research now. So I would like to here mention one specific research that just recently the scholar has actually defended her thesis. So she has worked on comparative poetics, so, and in that she has brought the Sanskrit critical tradition with the Western poetics and theories. So basically, what we see is today, because when we do literary analysis, we take recourse to the literary theories or linguistic theories, and what is available to us, in the world poetics is only Western theories. And then, if we go back and check all these Western theorists or linguists, they actually have done their PhDs in Sanskrit theories. So it's a very sorry state
Yeah.
that the foundational theories, all those, especially, I can name the father of linguistic theories. He's a Ferdinand de Saussure.
Mm,
He has his PhD in studying, Sanskrit linguistics, and he is the father. And today, everybody take recourse for the same story, theories to him. So this scholar has actually brought in done a lot of research and uh, made the comparative analysis of both Sanskrit and the Western theories, and then
mm,
established the relevance of Sanskrit theories as the indigenous trend in literary theory today. And then
mm,
she has
mm,
actually studied one of the major theories like Dhvani, which is
mm,
one of very robust theory in Sanskrit theories,
mm,
poetics.
mm,
Studied that, she has given a practical character to the theory, made stylistic devices, and applied to the Western literature, trying to prove that we can actually study any kind of literature using Sanskrit aesthetics. So I feel this is very relevant to the vision of the Ministry of Education IKS division has
mm.
to basically emphasize on the rich, Sanskrit tradition that we have. Now, yeah, she's also doing her postdoc now, continuing in the same areas in the department.
Absolutely, ma'am. One thought literally popped up. I think your department and typically all the research is going on in the institute, right? Uh, you have to continue this podcast. In a maybe whatever frequency, whether it is a monthly, quarterly, or 6 months or 1 year, the world has to know the kind of research with Sri Sathya of Higher Learning is actually doing. A lot of deeper research, lot of impactful research, which I'm able to know because I'm actually doing this podcast, and I'm going to go back to Palasa saying that this has to happen. I can be one person to help from the industry, but I think build resources within so that we can actually have a very good narrative of this kind of research. It's going to influence a lot of students to go back to their basics now. So that's the entire intent. Let the last part of it in terms of the theme is rediscovering roots, the Indian knowledge systems and comparative poetics. The focus on reclaiming and reinterpreting indigenous literary wisdom. The questions are around how is the department pioneering a comparative study of, I think, Sanskrit, Western poetics. This is something which you just spoke about, and yeah, and also the literary theory and aesthetics play. I think we covered this uh, already. Couple of the other things which I wanted to talk is about, there are uh, corporate communications departments in every industry. If you
Yes.
look at it, right, and they normally pick up people who are really good at communication. The entire department basically is its language. They'll have to release a lot of press notes or prepare the leaders to actually talk to the press or the internal communications team as such. I mean, that is where most of the resources actually look for someone with an MA English or a PhD in English. I'm very close in touch with the executive director for Wells Fargo, Sabiha Hussain. And
Yes.
I've been talking to her for quite some time. Maybe having these guys come over, kind of a lecture, maybe on Zoom, if she's not able to make it to. I know you can actually do a lot of other lectures as well across the board, but I somehow felt because I was connected to her, either she can add value and you can also take some kind of value from the kind of experience she has because I think she's done a kind of PhD in English studies back in the UK, has global exposure as well, and almost 15 years heading with the communications of Wells as well. So I'll connect into so three people I'm going to connect post
Sure, sir.
this
Yes.
particular. Yes, Sabiha Hussain, Pawan, who's from Silent Speaks, the UK company, and Dr. Surya from the Verbal Com AI, who's these three. But I had a really good time, understanding the kind of impactful research that the department is actually doing. And we represented, yesterday I made a dialogue. We had another HOD, and I said, you are a combination of a Sachin Tendulkar and a Virat Kohli because for every question he was hitting sixes. And you actually did the same in terms of representing your department. Each and every question you answered really very well and represented excellently, man. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Uh,
you, sir.
eh,
Thank you for your very thought-provoking questions, sir. I must appreciate the way you have build the whole podcast through the five themes and the way you have put the questions forth. So that also triggers the answers from the other end, sir. Thank you
no,
so much, sir.
absolutely. I mean, when you mention people like Ziba Bashruddin, ma'am, suddenly, you get because she was my teacher, and I was very influenced by the kind of work. And she used to tell us her experiences as well. One of which I quickly want to narrate is one fine day in the class, she said, "No, I had a dream," and we were just around 15, 20 boys then. So we were very alert. She said, "No, I saw Swami swinging on a chula from the far end of the cyclone hall. Actually, that with a huge chula and Swami actually sitting in the middle, and he was swinging, it seems." That's something which I still remember. This is back in 93, 94. But some of these memories don't go away. So thanks a lot for triggering very nice memories. And I'm going to speak to my kids and my wife around this. And I'm going to share you the resources which I promised. Right? Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, sir. I didn't know this podcast would turn into a satsang with you, sir.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Sir.
Thank you.